Have you ever looked at a family vehicle and thought, that thing looks like it could survive the end of the world, but still look perfectly at home pulling up to a 5-star hotel? Welcome back to Crownline Reviews, where we get behind the wheel of the most exciting, relevant, and highly anticipated cars on the planet. Today we are looking at something truly special, a vehicle that carries the weight of an absolute automotive legend on its broad shoulders. Sitting right here in front of us, soaking up the city skyline through these massive showroom windows, is the breathtaking 2026 Toyota Fortuner Legender. It is big, it is bold, and in this deep, glossy black paint, it looks absolutely menacing. But the big question we need to answer today is this: has Toyota managed to keep the rugged, unbreakable soul of the Fortuner alive while finally pushing it into the modern era of luxury and technology? Let us find out together. Really understand why this new Fortuner is such a massive deal for car enthusiasts and families alike, we have to take a quick trip down memory lane. For years, the Toyota Fortuner has been the undisputed king of the midsize, body-on-frame SUV market in many parts of the world. For those who might not know, body-on-frame simply means the body of the car is bolted onto a separate, heavy-duty steel ladder frame, just like a tough pickup truck. In fact, it was built on the exact same bones as the legendary Toyota Hilux. That meant it inherited a level of toughness and durability that you just could not find in a standard car-based crossover. People bought Fortuners because they knew they could load up the entire family, drive through a flooded river, cross a rocky desert, and still make it to school drop-off on Monday morning without a single rattle or complaint. It was the ultimate peace of mind vehicle. However, as the years went on, the older generations of the Fortuner started to feel a little bit rough around the edges. The ride was famously a bit bouncy, especially if there was no heavy cargo in the back. The interiors were very basic, featuring a lot of hard plastics that were easy to clean but not very nice to touch. And the technology was definitely lagging behind the competition. Buyers started wanting more comfort, bigger screens, and more refinement, but they absolutely refused to give up that go-anywhere capability. That is exactly the monumental challenge Toyota faced with this new generation. They had to fix the bumpy ride and the outdated cabin, while staying completely true to the indestructible heritage that made the Fortuner famous in the first place. Just look at the way this thing commands the room. The design team at Toyota has completely thrown out the old playbook and given us something that looks incredibly futuristic, yet undeniably tough. Starting right at the front, the first thing that grabs your attention is that massive, upright grille. It features this beautiful, intricate silver honeycomb pattern that contrasts perfectly against the dark, inky black paint of the body. And right across the top, sitting proudly above the grille, is the bold Toyota lettering spelled out in bright silver. It is a massive nod to their classic vintage off-roaders from the past, and it gives the truck a very confident, retro-modern face. It tells you exactly what this vehicle is before you even get close to it. Flanking that massive grille are some of the sharpest, most aggressive headlights I have ever seen on a family SUV. They feature these striking, fang-like LED daytime running lights that cut sharply down into the bumper. It gives the front end a very predatory, focused look. Imagine seeing those lights creeping up behind you in your rearview mirror on a dark highway. It definitely has an intimidating presence. Down below the grille, you have a thick, rugged silver skid plate that wraps around the lower bumper. It is not just a cheap piece of plastic for show. It visually anchors the vehicle to the ground and reminds you that, yes, this thing is still built to take a beating on the dirt trails. Moving around to the side profile, the proportions of this new Legender are just spot on. The body lines are much sharper and more chiseled than the soft, rounded shapes of the previous generation. You can see how the deep black paint reflects the showroom lights, highlighting these strong, muscular creases that run along the doors and fenders. The wheel arches are squared off and finished in a tough, matte black plastic cladding. This is a brilliant design choice because it protects the paint from flying rocks and mud when you take it off-road, and it perfectly frames those stunning alloy wheels. Speaking of the wheels, these are intricate multi-spoke alloys with a beautiful two-tone finish, blending gloss black inner spokes with bright machined silver faces. They look incredibly premium, almost like something you would find on a luxury German SUV, but they are wrapped in tires with enough thick sidewall to actually handle a rough dirt road without popping a tire. You also get these sturdy, integrated side steps running along the bottom. These are an absolute must for a vehicle with this much ground clearance, making it incredibly easy for little kids or older folks to climb in and out safely. And I absolutely love the subtle touches of elegance, like the thick chrome trim that runs along the bottom of the windows, kicking up slightly at the rear pillar. It adds just the right amount of flash to an otherwise very dark and stealthy profile. The dark tinted rear windows complete that VIP look, keeping the cabin cool and giving your passengers plenty of privacy. Now, while we are admiring this beautiful exterior, let us talk about what you can expect when you grab that solid door handle. Hear that reassuringly heavy click and climb inside. Toyota knew they had to step up their game here, and they absolutely did. The moment you sit in the driver's seat, you're greeted by a cabin that feels light years ahead of the old model. The smell of fresh, high-quality materials hits you immediately. The plastics on the dashboard are softer, the touch points on the doors are padded, and the overall layout is incredibly clean and modern. You sit very high up, giving you that commanding, king-of-the-road view over the hood that SUV buyers absolutely love. Right in front of you, behind a thick, leather-wrapped steering wheel, is a crisp, fully digital instrument cluster. It gives you all your vital information at a glance, from your speed to your fuel economy, and it changes colors depending on what driving mode you are in. In the center of the dash, there's a massive, high-resolution touchscreen infotainment system. It is fast, it is responsive, and it features wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. But here is the best part. Thankfully, Toyota has kept physical buttons and dials for the climate controls. There's nothing more frustrating than having to dig through a complicated touchscreen menu just to turn down the air conditioning on a sweltering hot day. You just reach down, feel the satisfying click of the dial, and adjust the temperature without ever taking your eyes off the road. But an SUV like this is really about the people sitting behind you. The second row offers a massive amount of legroom and headroom, making it perfectly comfortable for tall adults on long journeys. You get dedicated air conditioning vents mounted in the roof, so the rear passengers do not overheat, plenty of USB charging ports for tablets and phones, and seats that actually recline so your kids can take a nap on a long road trip. And then there's the third row. In the past, the Fortuner's third row seats famously folded up to the sides of the trunk windows. Took up a lot of cargo space, blocked your rear visibility, and looked a bit clunky. Toyota has finally listened to the feedback and engineered a proper fold-flat third row. When you do not need the extra seats, they disappear seamlessly into the floor, leaving you with a massive flat cargo area that can easily swallow up bicycles, camping gear, or a month's worth of groceries. Underneath that sculpted black hood, the new Fortuner Legender packs a serious punch. While Toyota offers a few different options depending on where you live in the world, the star of the show is their heavily revised turbodiesel engine, which is now paired with a 48-volt mild hybrid system. This is a huge step forward for the brand. By adding a small electric motor and a battery, Toyota has managed to make the heavy diesel engine smoother, quieter, and significantly more fuel-efficient in stop-and-go city traffic. When you put your foot down at a green light, the electric motor provides an instant boost of torque, filling in the power gaps before the turbocharger fully spools up. This means you get effortless, smooth acceleration off the line and plenty of passing power when you are trying to overtake a slow truck on the highway. It produces well over 200 horsepower and a massive amount of low-end torque, which is exactly what you need when you have a full carload of people and a trunk full of heavy luggage. And because it is still built on that incredibly tough ladder frame chassis we talked about earlier, the towing capacity is phenomenal. If you have a heavy boat, a horse trailer, or a large travel camper, this Fortuner will pull it up a mountain pass without breaking a sweat. So what is it actually like to drive in the real world? I will be completely honest with you. When you first get behind the wheel of a big, heavy, body-on-frame SUV, you usually expect it to drive like a clumsy farm truck. But the engineers have worked some absolute magic on the suspension of this new model. They have completely retuned the shock absorbers and the steering system to make it feel much more manageable and polite around town. The steering wheel has a nice, reassuring weight to it, but it is light enough that you can easily maneuver this big beast into a tight parking spot at the grocery store without feeling like you are doing a heavy arm workout. Out on the open highway, the ride quality is an absolute revelation compared to the old model. The old Fortuner used to jitter and bounce over broken pavement, sending shivers up your spine. But this new one glides over bumps and potholes with a newfound sense of sophistication and grace. It is incredibly quiet inside too. Toyota has added a ton of sound insulation to the doors and the floor, so you do not hear the clatter of the diesel engine or the roar of the wind, even at high speeds. It feels incredibly planted and secure, giving you the confidence to tackle a 10-hour family road trip without feeling exhausted and beaten up at the end of the day. Of course, we cannot talk about a Toyota Fortuner without talking about what happens when the pavement ends and the dirt begins. This is where the Legender truly separates itself from the soft-roader, mall-crawler crossovers. It comes equipped with a proper, heavy-duty four-wheel drive system, low-range gearing for crawling over steep obstacles, and a locking rear differential to get you out of deep mud. You also get a suite of advanced off-road driving modes that automatically adjust the traction control, the brakes, and the engine output depending on whether you are driving over slippery mud, loose sand, or jagged rocks. Even if you have never driven off-road a day in your life, this vehicle makes you feel like an absolute hero. You just point the steering wheel, gently press the throttle, and the car's computer figures out the rest. Now let us talk about the reality of owning this vehicle day in and day out. Because buying a car is one thing, but living with it for 5 or 10 years is another story entirely. This is where the Toyota badge on the front grille really earns its keep. When you buy a Fortuner, you're buying into a global reputation for bulletproof, legendary reliability. These engines are known to run for hundreds of thousands of miles, with nothing more than basic, routine oil changes. The running costs are surprisingly reasonable for a vehicle of this massive size, especially with the new mild hybrid system helping to stretch your fuel budget further at the pump. And when it finally comes time to sell it, the resale value is absolutely astronomical. People are always looking for a good, used Toyota SUV, which means you will get a huge chunk of your initial investment back. I want to pause for a second and ask you guys watching at home. When you are looking for a family SUV, what is the single most important thing to you? Are you looking for the absolute best fuel economy, the most luxurious leather interior, or do you want something like this Fortuner that you know will never ever leave you stranded on the side of the road? Let me know down in the comments below because I read every single one of them, and I love hearing what you prioritize in your daily drivers. For me, there is something incredibly appealing about a vehicle that does not pretend to be a delicate sports car. It knows exactly what it is, a tough, dependable, and highly capable family hauler that can take a beating and ask for more. So it is time for the honest verdict. Who's the 2026 Toyota Fortuner Legender actually for, and who should probably look elsewhere? If you're someone who only drives in the city center, who never goes off-road, who never tows anything, and who prioritizes a cloud-like ride and sports car handling above all else, this might not be the car for you. You would probably be much happier and more comfortable in a unibody crossover like a Toyota Highlander or a RAV4. The Fortuner is still a truck at heart, and you can still feel that underlying firmness over really bad, jagged potholes. But if you are an adventurous family, if you tow a heavy trailer on the weekends, if you live in a rural area with rough dirt roads, or if you just want a vehicle that makes you feel completely invincible every time you turn the key, the Fortuner Legender is in a class of its own. It takes all the rugged durability that made the original model a global icon, and wraps it in a stunning new design with modern technology, better fuel economy, and much-needed interior refinement. It is a tool designed to make your life easier, safer, and more adventurous. It is a rare thing in the automotive world to find a vehicle that successfully honors its rugged past while fully embracing the modern future, but Toyota has absolutely nailed it with this one. It is not just an SUV, it is a promise that no matter how bad the weather gets or how rough the road becomes, you will always make it back home safely. Thank you so much for joining me today on Crownline Reviews. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the new Fortuner, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our upcoming videos. Until next time, keep driving, keep exploring, and I will see you in the next review.